You might be saying, but what about Isaiah? In Isaiah 14:12, how have you fallen from heaven, morning star, son of dawn? In some translations it says Lucifer. You have been cast down to earth. You who once laid low the nations. You said in your heart, I will ascend to the heavens. I will raise my throne above the stars of God. I will sit enthroned on the mount of assembly, on the utmost heights of Mount Zaphon. I will ascend above the clouds. I will make myself the most high. But you are brought down to the realm of the dead, to the depths of the pit. This chapter of Isaiah was literally meant the king of Babylon, who was taken and cut down by the Persians, where he says in verse 3, on this day the Lord gives you relief from your suffering and turmoil, from the harsh labor forced on you. You will take up this taunt against the king of Babylon, not Lucifer, but the king of Babylon. How the oppressor has come to an end, how his fury has ended. The Lord has broken the rod of the wicked, the scepter of the rulers, which in anger struck down peoples, with unceasing blows and fury subdued nations with relentless aggression. And the lands are at rest and peace. They break into singing. Even the junipers and the cedars of Lebanon gloat over you and say, now that you have been laid low, no one comes to cut us down. The realm of the dead below is all astir to meet you at your coming. Isaiah is talking about the king of Babylon, but he's using the imagery of Lucifer, the highest, the most brightest star in the sky. In Canaanite mythology, he's using the greatness of Lucifer, something to compare how great the king of Babylon was. This passage of Lucifer falling gets linked up with all these pagan stories of all these light bringers and gods that rebelled. And you have now the foundation of a fallen Lucifer in the text of Isaiah. Ezekiel 8:14-16 has an interesting passage that I want to relate to you right now. It says, then he brought me to the entrance of the gate of the Lord's temple, which faced the north. That's where I saw women seated, weeping for Tammuz. And then he asked me, do you see this, son of man? You are about to see even more detestable practices than these. Now, what does this mean? Weeping for Tammuz is a tradition that transcends all the pagan myths. The weeping for the dead god like Adonis or Attis or Osiris. And sometimes it's weeping for Persephone. This is such a central thing to the idea of Lucifer and Satan, because what you are seeing now is the idea of these pagan rites as detestable and abominations. Ezekiel is telling the reader that these are the rites that are infecting the Jewish tradition. You start to see this split between Judaism and paganism, which brings us to the story of Jezebel and Elijah. Jezebel worships Baal and Asherah. Baal, who used to be the son of El, another dying and rising agricultural deity of paganism, and her prophets of Baal cannot defeat Elijah, who is sending down fire from Uranus. This tradition depicts the triumph of El over Asherah and Baal, whereas Asherah and Baal later get identified with Isis and Serapis, Baal Hamon and Serapis. There is also a Pergamum altar. The altar of Pergamum worships these deities along with horned Zeus Ammon, which is why in Revelation 2 you get, I knew where you live, where Satan has his throne, yet you remain true to my name. You did not renounce your faith in me, not even in the days of Antipas, my faithful witness, who has put you to death in your city where Satan lives. This was an altar built by Augustus in honor of Zeus Ammon and Isis and Serapis, who are depicted as serpents. Baal-zebub, Lord of the Flies in Hebrew. One of the epithets for Zeus and Pergamum is Epamnos. Zeus Epamnos is the god of the flies, the god of the dead, the underworld chthonic Zeus. That's who Baal-zebub is, who shows up in the Gospels and is cast out by Jesus. Which brings us back to Christianity and Enoch. Enoch's fallen angels, a monotheistic retelling of the pagan traditions as fallen angels. This brings us to the author of Revelation, borrowing heavily from the Enochic tradition. The great serpent, or Satan, as in Revelation 12 tells us, is literally paganism incarnate. He is the light bringer, like Apollo and Diana, who also are cast down from heaven. He is the rebel, like Prometheus, who teaches mankind knowledge. He is the serpent in the garden, who tells you that you can be like gods if you take a bite. He is Bacchus, the spirit that possesses one. He is the Chthonian Hades, the king of the underworld. He is the Saturn king who eats his children. And most of all, he is the image of Pan, the goat god, who lives in the labyrinth in the underworld. And he is Venus, Lucifer, the morning star. These ideas continue after Christianity has a stronghold on the Romans. Baphomet, for example, becomes the Sabitic goat god who is worshipped by the Crusaders. Raymond Aguileras reports that the term Baphomet comes from a corruption of the word Mahomet or Muhammad. Somehow, this initiation rite of the Templars is about this goat god, Baphomet. Jules Michelet says that the indictment published by the court of Rome set forth that in all provinces they had idols, that is to say, heads, some of which had 3 faces, others but 1. Sometimes it was a human skull, that in their assemblies they had, especially in their grand chapters, they worshipped the idol as a god, as their savior, saying that this head could save them, that it bestowed on the order all its wealth, made the trees flower, and the plants of the earth sprout forth, which is a pagan agricultural idea. Dante in his Inferno plays off of this and also depicts Satan with 3 heads, just as Michelet describes him of Baphomet. And then when we get to Paradise Lost by John Milton, the entire image of Lucifer and Satan is put together perfectly. The fall of man, the temptation of Adam and Eve by the fallen angel Satan, who's also the serpent, and the Luciferian angel. All of it is put together in 1667 by John Milton, who later is picked up by Aleister Crowley and the painting, famous depiction of the Baphomet by Eliphas Livy, depicting this god with the staff of the serpents of Mercury and the pentagram on his head, which is a symbol of the pagan altar, the horns of the goat, the wings of the fallen angel Lucifer, and of course, he is male and female, like Venus and Lucifer. Aleister Crowley uses the Baphomet of Levi within his cosmology of Thelema the mystical system established by Crowley in the 20th century. Baphomet features in the creed of the Gnostic Catholic Church, recited by the congregation, the Gnostic Mass, in the sentence, "And I believe in the serpent and the lion, mystery of mysteries, in his name, Baphomet." This is where we now have all of these sigils of Baphomet and Lucifer and the Satanic Temple, which is still alive today, as a direct opposition to the biblical religions that seek to suppress the human condition of fleshly desires, of seeking knowledge, of progression. So my conclusion is that Lucifer and Satan is the embodiment of the pagan tradition itself, in a direct opposition to the biblical God. And it's also a realization that you cannot unify ancient religions into one religion. You have to choose. Either you want the Messiah to come and bring in this one world submission to one God, or you reject that idea and instead put up on a throne to worship the world, human growth, and desires, which is not evil and is natural, to take care of Mother Gaia and not wait for its destruction by a Messiah. Let me know what you think in the comments. You have just attained true gnosis.